Harav YCD, welcome back to Yerushalmi Bikkurim. We are holding at the third parak, which is Daf Chaf Aleph Ahmed Base. Okay, good regards to our friend in Yerushalmi, Yehuda Brown, who's still listening to the share. Good regards to him. We are up to Parak Shlishi of Bikkurim. We are here. Ketzad Mafrishi Nesa Bikkurim. So how do you separate Bikkurim? Yered Adam Tasadeu. You go into your fields to Eina Shabikra, the fig that started to ripen. Or Eshgal Shabikar, you've got the cluster of grapes that started to ripen. Riman Shabikar, pomegranate. But Koshrin Begemi, you tie it with a string or something with a reed as a sign, so you'll recognize it later. But he says, Hare Elu Bikkurim, this shall be Bikkurim. And by saying that, it's got Shem Bikkurim, even though they are still connected to the ground. This is like the mitzvah lechatchila, to give it a name Bikkurim while it's still connected to the ground. It's brought also in the Rambam, right? Tosas and Shem have got different opinions. Okay, whether there's a bracha on it, that is discussed. Okay, Rav Shimon he says, Afbi Kain, despite the fact that you gave it a name while it's still growing, it's not holy yet. But you carry on later and call it Bikkurim after it's been detached, because he holds the name of Bikkurim doesn't help until after it's been detached from the tree. Okay, so Mafrishin is a Bikkurim. So how do you separate Bikkurim? But Shimon said, even though, and he said you should still go and read it again. Al Dati Rav Shimon. I don't know if you've got any spare books at all. Mendel, we've got someone here. Al Dati Rav Shimon. You'll find one somewhere on the shelf, maybe. Al Dati Rav Shimon. Like Harashem, Betalosh. If you didn't give it a name, Betalosh, right, still connected. If you didn't do that, like Kidshu, should it not work? Right, it shouldn't work. It shouldn't have a din bikurim at all. Einan medamein. And if the fruit got mixed up, then if the fruit got mixed up with any other chulin or whatever, it shouldn't forbid the mixture. And ein chayv alen chomesh. If Israel eats it b'shaygeg, he's not going to have to pay a fifth. Yes, according to Shimon, if you didn't give it a name betalosh, right, you only gave it a name when it's growing and not when it's detached. Shimon holds that's not good enough. Right? You don't get malchus if you ate it outside Yerushalayim. Right? So according to Shimon, unless you gave it a Shem Bikkurim when it's detached, it's no good. We're in third parak, yeah? What's the reason of the Chachamim, the Tanakama, that Bikkurim helps when it's connected to the ground? Because it says, I have brought the beginnings of the fruit. The pasuk Lashon's pre, as far as bringing Bikkurim, but the parasha of Bikkurim, there's no reference to pre in that pasuk. There is as far as bringing it, but not as far as separating it. So b'shas hava'ah, when you bring it, that's got to be pre. It's got to be a fruit. B'shas hafrasha, however, when you're separating it, afilu boisa, it can be an earlier stage development. Afilu pagim, and also even figs which are not totally ripe. And since you can be mafresh bikurim even when it's at an earlier stage, therefore you can be mafresh when it's still connected to the tree. Adate de Rav Shimon. According to Rav Shimon, we could say the opposite. Mavashas hava, he says, look, when you bring it, it's got to be pri, a complete fruit. Avashas hafrasha, so when you separate it, pri, it should be a complete fruit. There's got to be maybe he holds, it's got to be completely detached from the tree. Okay, now, so it doesn't help when it's still growing or whatever. It's got to be like when you bring it. Now, what about the Shem Bikkurim, which have not yet reached the time of Bikkur? Let's see. Reb Zirabai, Bikura Yichu, Ma'ashi Yatiru Chanate. Now, if you give a name of Bikkurim, let's say on fruit on one branch, on that branch, you have fruit which have already developed, and you have fruit which have just started blossoming and have not yet reached the time for Bikkurim. So will the fruit that have developed, will they allow the remaining fruit which is in an earlier stage? Maybe they will also be called Bikkurim, and they will join up for the share which is required for Bikkurim, which, by the way, is 1 in 60. Or maybe no, there's no name Bikkurim. You have to make up the 1 in 60 from other fruits. You can't just drag on this lower developed stuff on this branch. A very good question. We have no answer. All right. Okay. And now the Gemara brings another brayso which explains the share needed for Bikkurim and Matanas Kohana. Tani shel Bikkurim echad meshishim, 1 in 60 of the fruit. Reishis Agez echad meshishim, 1 in 60 of all the shearing. Truma Tamea Echad Mishishim. Truma Tamea is 1 in 60 of the produce. Right, of course, in our Torah, one little kernel is enough, yeah? One chita, patters the whole lot. The Chachamim made a share for Truma, for taho fruit, 1 in 40, 1 in 50, 1 in 60. But for tame fruit, nowadays we don't do that because we don't do anything with it. Now, tame fruit is 1 in 60. It's not fitting with the it's going to be burned, so you're not big magpid. That's not considered a person who is miserly, right? Okay. Let's carry on. Tani Rabbi Shmuel, Habikurim Echad Meshishim. Peah is Echad Meshishim, 1 in 60. Reish Agay is Echad Meshishim, 1 in 60. Truma Tamea, Echad Meshishim, 1 in 60. Truma She'ena Kodim Makpidin Aleha, Truma which Kodim don't care about, which is not choshev in their eyes, Echad Meshishim, 1 in 60. Ma'islach, what Truma is that the Kodim don't care about? You're going to Truma Saklisin Macharuvin, Usain Shebe'edoim. So, Klisin are types of small figs, and then you got the charuvin, the carobs, and the sa'irin, the barley in Edom, right? They were bad quality stuff. We find in our life, Truma got mixed up, the Kodim don't care about it in 100 measures of chulin. You don't need to, you just take one, you don't have to take out one bit out of it, or the mixture, as opposed to stum Truma that gets mixed up. So there we are. Halacha base. Now, what about taking Bikurim to the base of Mikdash? And all the people who bring it have to join together and gather together. Keisad Ma'alin is Bikurim. How do you bring the Bikurim to Yerushalmi? Kol Haloshon Mamad Miskansas Yerushalmi Mamad. Right, so all the little towns of that Mamad. Remember, you had the various Mamodos, right? The people who were responsible to be in time and the Korbanos were being brought. They were the Israel dignitaries who were also sent to do davening and tehillim and everything else. So Kol Haloshon Mamad Miskansas Yerushalmi Mamad. They go to the town of the head of the Mamad, right? Mamodos. The person has to be at his korban, but he can't. So you get a shliach to be instead of you, right? So these were the 24 mishmaros of Kahuna Leviah, and Klal Yisrael also had 24 mishmaros as well. And each week was a different Mamad, as you know. So you'd go to that week, whoever, there was a person in charge of the Mamad. Okay, so there we are. So you go to the town of that person to bring their Bikurim together. They stay the night in the public square, right? They don't stay in someone's house. They stay in like the city of the Rosh Mamad, but in the square. They would not go in their houses, right? And that's in fact why there's holiness in the public square, because the people daven there on the Tanis and on the Mamodos, etc. They wouldn't go in their houses. We'll see why. And Velamashkim, and in the morning they get up. The head of the Mamad would call out over and say, we will go to Yerushalmi. Let us all go together. Yeah. And let's see what happens. Kigai, now in the Mamad we learned all the towns in the Mamad will come to the head of the Mamad. Kigai, Yarev and Makirov, or Yedaya Makirov. These were the names of the two Mishmaros of Kohanim. And then Makirim were the people of the Mamad, which would be in the week of that Mishmar. And they wouldn't go in the houses. Why not? Now, we thought the reason is because there are too many, there's no space. So then let's go to the shul. Why do they have to stay in the street? So they have to chalafta ben shul. The reason they didn't go in the house is in case there'll be tuba in the house, and then all the people will have tumas ayal, and therefore they'll have to go to the mikdash, their tameh, and because of this, there's also a problem in the shul, in case the roof is connected to someone who dies. That's why they did not go into the houses while they're on their way to Yerushalayim, right? And they said, we'll all go to Yerushalayim, and when they go, they reach Yerushalayim, they would sing, but derech hayomrim, on the way, they would say and sing, Samachti, right? You all know that song? Ve'omrim li, Beit Hashem nelech. We'll go. When they come into Yerushalayim, we were standing, we were at gates of Yerushalayim. They reach Harav YCD, etc. And the rest of the parak until they reach the Azara. But Azara, in the Azara, they would say, That's what they would say in the Azara. Okay? It sounds like they said Kol Haloshon in the Azara. We'll see later, when they reach the Azara, the Levim would open with Aramimcha Hashem Kidi Litani. So maybe the different gifts is exactly what they would say. All right. Now the people near to Yerushalmi would bring bikurim or figs and grapes which were moist. If you lived a long way away, you bring dry figs with simukim and raisins, but not moist ones. They shouldn't get ruined on the way. And the ox is walking in front of them. Right? This was going to be brought as a carbon from the tzibur, right? The horns were covered in gold to publicize the mitzvah. And a laurel of olive branches on its head. The flute is playing. Until they come close to Yerushalmi, then they start. They send messengers to tell the town that they are coming. And they start ornamenting, decorating their bikurim. So these are the deputies and the treasurers of the Mikdash. Yotzin come out of the town, crossing towards them. Based on how many people are coming into the town, the people would come out of the town to greet them, depending on the numbers. Right? When they were going on their way to Harav YCD, all the craftsmen in Yerushalmi would stand before them, and greeting them. I remember they said, our brothers from so-and-so place, have you come in peace? Or we hope you have come in peace. Have you come in peace without anything happening? This is more than Ba'achem L'Shalom. It's like Chibuv Mitzvah. Some say Ba'achem L'Shalom. It's an expression of a blessing. Okay, now the people nearby would bring the moist fruit. Ad Heicham, when it's considered near, you can take truma from that which is the best quality stuff, the moist stuff. And if you can't bring the moist stuff without getting ruined, then you bring dry stuff. Now, can you bring one other type of fig? Not only the dried figs. You live far away, you want to bring a nice fig cake, which is the figs which are pressed into a clump, right? Instead of bringing the separate figs. Naima will say, if it was from the place called Ke'ilah, maybe you can bring it. That's good quality. If it was a bad place, then maybe you cannot bring it. The ox is going in front of them. Of course, it's going to be brought as a carbon. But what carbon? Make a shlamim. No, you bring it as an Olah offering when the mizbeach is empty. Now the people coming to bring their bikurim together, bring the ox, and what do you do? If you're bringing your own bikurim not with the tzibur, Reb Zira he asked, if the individual was lazy, he didn't come with everyone else, what should he do when he brings his bikurim? Maybe gedi, he brings a goat, and the horns are covered with silver, and the goat goes in front of his bikurim. So he also has to have an animal coming in front, but he doesn't have to bring an ox covered with gold. He can bring a gedi covered with silver. Why branches of olives? Because it's from the Shivas Haminim, and that's one of the choice ones. If you had your bikurim as these dried figs, you can cover them above, but with moist figs. So you put at the top a bit of moist figs. In simukim, and if you have raisins, you would have a few moist. Maybe you get nearer. Just add in a few extra moist grapes from when you come nearer to Yerushalmi. Okay, so you would buy them just close to Yerushalmi and put the fresh figs a bit on top. Lefi kavayda nechnas. Based on those coming in. Now, it sounds like the chashivas of the people coming in. If there were honored people, you get a lot of honored people to go and greet them. You have big and small in Israel. Well, what you're looking at, covered of people. This is what it means. But listen, the number of people. If you arrive in according to the big numbers, a big number would go and greet them. Yeah, so based on the numbers. The craftsman would come. And we've learned, Takum Vadata, it says when they say, the elderly man goes by, you get up, and we compare Kima to Hido. Ma Kima, when you get up, She'ein B'chisarin Kiss, you don't have to spend money to get up. Of Hido, which is also said, She'ein B'chisarin Kiss, you're giving respect, is you're not spending money from it. So they don't have to stand because Talmud Chacham when they're doing their work. So why do they have to stand? Because people are bringing Bikurim. Shani Yacha is different because she Achas Lekitzi, it only comes once in a while. It's not regular. It's not chisaron kiss, the fact they're stopping their work to stand up before the people bringing Bikkurim. Rav YCD Cohen, come and see. How great is the kayach of those who do mitzvahs? Shemidei zakein. Ein for an elderly person, the bali omnis don't stand. When they oisa mitzvahs, for people bringing Bikkurim, they stand. Those who stand before Levaya, which is going out for burial, it's not because of the mace they're standing. The people who are doing the responsibility of running the funeral, the ones who go to take the person for burial, like they do for anyone who's doing a mitzvah. Ad kama, how much? How many times in the day? Adam Zog Lavanozak, and you have to stand up for an elder. Shimon Baba B'Shem Rav Yochanan Pamayim Bayom, twice a day. Rav Lazar Pamachmim, he said once a day. Like Tani, but have we not learned Shimon and Lazar Ibn Now, an elderly person should not bother the tzibur to get up for him if he can go another way. If he doesn't have to walk right in front of them, he should go another way. From the connection of the psukim, elderly, but you should fear. We learn a zaken also has to fear Hashem. You shouldn't bother everyone for no need. According to Rav Yochanan, I understand. You shouldn't bother the tzibur to get up before you another time. They got you once a day. That's fine. According to Rav Lazar, there's no chiyuv to get up more than once a day. Does it mean layakum kalika then? Does the brayso mean you shouldn't get up at all? That he shouldn't go before the tzibur even once a day? They won't get up at all? I mean, once a day is the least share to get up for the miskimah. Can't be too much of a bother. Rav Yaakov Barachim Shem Rav Elazar, he said what the brayso means you shouldn't bother is to layachme siyata desavin. You shouldn't see a group of elders, and you deliberately go in front of them, begin to kuman lai min kumai, that you'll go in front of them so they should stand up for you. For these elders, it's hard for them to stand up, and that's a tircha even once a day. To cause these elders to stand up, if you're a bigger elder, to cause these elders to stand up is a bother. Just like the machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Elazar here, they argue about greeting, how many times a person should greet the greetings of his teacher. According to Rabbi Elazar, once a day, according to Rabbi Yochanan, twice a day. The share that you have to stand for a zaken is arba amas. Is for when he reaches an age of 4 amas away, not an age, a distance 4 amas, and after arba, when he's moved away, Yeshua can sit down. And nasi, you have to get out from when you see him until he is covered, where you can't see him anymore. What's the source of this? I can say it's Moshe. Moshe goes out to the tent. All the people got up. They stood each person in his tent. They looked after Moshe until he came to his tent. They stood all the time. So now, a machlokes about what this pasuk means. They looked after Moshe. Train Amar, 2 opinions. Chadam, one said they looked after Moshe l'shvach. It was a good thing. Chadam, one said it was a bad thing. They want to see the tzaddik and it's mezakeh for the diet, so it's of course for the generation. The one who says it wasn't good, they would say, look, chazir shakeh, chazir karin, look, see his thighs, see his legs, how thick they are. Achem yudai shasmin, he eats our food, he drinks our food. Kol midlei min yudai, and all his money is from the Jewish people. Aron, when the Aron HaKodesh, panav klapei ha'am, you would put it on the side where the people are facing the tzibur, and the kaidim klapei ha'am, when they do brachas kaidim, they face the people. Israel penen klapei ha'kodesh, and the Jewish people are facing the kodesh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What about standing in front of a scholar? So the Torah doesn't have to stand up. The Rav doesn't have to stand up in front of his Talmud. Shmuel says, if you are a lower level than a Chacham, you're still not obligated to stand only for a Zaken, like a Chacham. You have to stand up for a Zaken, who's a Chacham. Rav Hillel, Rav Yaakov Aridi, Rav Yisivin, they were sitting. Shmuel, they got up. Shmuel went past, they got up for him. And he said, I've got 2 questions on you. Chadam, first of all, Sheini Zaken. I'm a Chaver, I'm not a Zaken. And you don't stand for a Chaver. But Chadam, secondly, Sheina Torah Medes B'nei B'nah. I'm your Talmud, and the Rav shouldn't stand for the Talmud. Rav Zira, Rav Acha Masik B'Kohen. he would stop his learning and stand before Talmud Chacham to Chashash V'Adein Tanaya. He was worried about this Tana. The Tana we've learned Kaisus Svarim. Those who write Sifrei Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzahs mafsikin. They stop from their writing the Kriya Shema for Kriya Shema, even though they're doing mitzvah. Ve'ein mafsikin the Tefillin. Don't just stop for Shemon Esrei. V'Chanani ben Akavi, he said Kashem from singing the Kriya Shema, just like you stop from Kriya Shema, Kafon singing the Tefillah, they have to stop for Shemon Esrei. When it's Tefillin, and Shabbat Tzustashot, when they're mitzvahs of Torah. So according to Chananya, if you're involved in writing Sfarim, Tefillin, and Mezuzahs, and you're learning Torah, you have to stop from your learning or writing for any mitzvah that comes about, even standing before Zakeh. After he learned all his ability and he wanted to rest, he would go and sit in front of the base of Medrash there, begin and make him living command. So he should see the elders passing by, he'll get up for them. Right? He won't be batel from doing a mitzvah. He used to always go up to ask the greetings of Rabbi Yanai Chamua, Rabbi Yanai's father-in-law, for Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. So each Friday he would go and greet him. And Rabbi Yanai would sit in a high place, begin and make him in order to see Yehuda Bachia from far away and get up for him. So the Talmidim of Rabbi Yanai said, like Ilfan Rabbi, did our teacher not teach us that you shouldn't get up for a zaken unless he reaches Arba Amas? Why are you standing up when he's far away? It's only when he reaches 4 Amas away. So why do you get up for Yehuda Bachia from far away? Amal and Rabbi Yanai said back, Ein Yeshiva Lefnei Sinai. There's no sitting in front of Har Sinai. Yehuda Bachia is like Har Sinai, his Talmud is so connected with him, and therefore you have to get up when you see him from afar. Now we have a story that happened. Chazman Ani Masik, there was a delay, Yehuda Bachia, he couldn't come up. Rabbi Yanai said, let's have Shad Yehuda B'Shalim Minhage. Can't be he's changing his custom without reason. He said, but really, I don't understand. You shouldn't be late. Let's have Shad Le'agin Yisroim Ba'u Gafo Sadika. It can't be that Yisroim going to be on that Sadik. And Mistabra She'en Lanu Yehuda Brafi, it must be that he's died. There can't be anything else, any other reason why he's not here. Right? Bavli Ksavas brings a story slightly differently. There it says Yehuda ben Rebbe. He stayed all week in the yeshiva, and then he would come back home on Friday, and there was a fire when he came to the house, and when his learning carried on, and he was late. And Rabbi Yana said if he was alive, he would have been here. It sounds like he's died. And the Gemara says, Shkaga Yatzam Lefnei Hashalit. Okay, that's the Gemara over there. Now, so he's saying probably he's not around. Rab Meir would see Afilu Sav Amaretz. He would see, he would stand up even for a Zaken who's in Amaretz. Leimin Kumai, and he would get up for him. He said, Leima Gan, not for nothing, Marach Yamim. There must be a reason why he's had such lengthy days. Right? It must be done good deeds, therefore you'd honor him. He would hit someone if you didn't get up for him. He would tell him, do you want to be Mavata the Torah? The Torah commanded you should stand up in front of a Chacham. Before elderly, you stand up. Why did it say Ani Hashem? Anihu, I am the one Shekiyamti Amina Zakin Zechila. I fulfilled the mitzvah of standing for Zakin first when I stood for Avram Avinu. It says, V'hu Yoshe Pesach Ayel. Avram was sitting. Yeah? Okay. Now, Keshanasi Nechnas, when the Nasi comes in, all the people stand before him, and even 100 rows, they can't sit down until he tells them. Shavu. Our based in, the our basin comes in, they don't know what to stand. You do 2 rows, and the rest sit down. In you can come in this side, that side. Chacham comes in, one stands, one sits. As he passes by, the one there stands, the next one sits. So each one, when he comes within 4 hours, they stand up. And when he comes away, they sit down. Until he comes to his place. Rab Meir, who was a Chacham, he used to go to the base of Medrash, and all the people would see him. They would get up when they see him, like you do for a Nasi. When he heard a Chacham who taught a Braisa, which says when a Chacham comes in, you don't often have to get up. Only the one who's next to the Chacham. They want to do the same with Rameir. Kas! He got angry and left the base medrash. He said to them, so I've heard once you go up and you don't go down. So basically he always stood up for him. So he didn't want them to change now and now not stand up. seems now they were going to maybe, I'll get up, and then you sit down, I'll get up, you sit down. He didn't want them to change that. The Bavli and Hurrius talks about what happened after that. Rav Zira have a bayan v'manise. They wanted to appoint him as a chacham or abesim, but he wouldn't accept it. When he heard the chacham who taught a brayso, we said chacham chasam v'nasi gedula mechaper, greatness is a kapara for them, and their sins are forgiven. Then he took on the position. Chacham, it says how do we know his sins are forgiven? You stand up for the elderly and you give respect to the zaken. Marcus Basra was to say after that, when a ger lives in your land, don't hate him. Just like a ger, he's forgiven for all his sins. A chacham is appointed is chasam. It says Bas Yishmael. He married Machalas. Her name wasn't Machalas, but like Basmas. Her name was Basmas. Ella, but what do you see? All his sins were forgiven when he married her. Right? So the Mefarshim discuss, is a Kala, does she have her sins forgiven as well? Or is it just a Chassan? Right? Because after all, the source here is with Machalas, which was with her. But anyway, so that's the thing, the different minhagim where the women fast when they get married as well. Different customs on that. Nasi ben Shana Shol b'Malchai. Shol was a year in his reign. V'chi ben Shana, he wasn't 1 year. And Shanim Chulak Kalamanas, his sins were forgiven, like Ketilek ben Shana, like a child who's 1 year old. Now, there are those called Chachamim, but we don't really give them respect. Rabbi Mana Mekala Leonid Mismania B'Ksesef. He would ridicule those who are appointed to be judges by paying money to the king or the Nasi. Rabbi Ibi Karale, and he called on them, don't make gods of silver and gold. The people are appointed because of silver and gold. Rabbi Shia said, the garment on him should be Kamadah Shal Chamor. Even though he's wearing a garment of a scholar, don't honor him for that. Rav Shayan, he says, someone appointed with silver, you don't stand before him, you don't call it Rebbe Mataz, it's like the cover of a donkey. So that's that. Rav Zeira, they were sitting together. Someone passes by who was appointed with money. He said, that Chacham, so Amar Yosei, that Chacham said to Rav Zeira, we'll make ourselves, so we're not going to get out for this guy who's paid for money. So we'll make ourselves as if we're learning something, and then we won't have to get up for him. You'll realize we didn't notice he was there because we're busy in our learning. Tirgem Yaakov Ishkafan Varaya. He explained the pasuk. Hayamela eitz. One who says to the tree, Hakitza, wake up. Urila Evan Domin, wake up the sleeping stone. This is an elder who's appointed with money. He was like sitting quietly like a tree and a stone that can't give drushes. And it says, Hu Yaira, that means Yadeh Hu Yaira. Do you think he knows how to teach? Hine Utafazava Kesef. Basically, was he not appointed through silver? He doesn't know anything. And if you wanted to be appointed as a good Dayan, it says, Vashem Behechal Kodesh, the Torah of Hashem is found in his Heichal Kodesh for the base of Knesset. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Laza B'Knishta B'Dar Tzadok Kisrin. If you want a good Dayan, go to Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Laza in the shul in Kisrin. And he is fitting to be a judge. Now, another subject. Can you do smicha on Zakenim and Chuzlaretz? Rav Ami Shadar Simon, Shemad Shemanin Zakenim and Chuzlaretz, do they appoint to give smicha to Zakenim and Chuzlaretz? And of course, smicha means to be called Rebbe and to judge monetary fines and things. Amalei says, Shemati Shemanin Zakenim and Chuzlaretz. No, we don't do it. It says in the pasuk, Ben Adam, it's Yecheskel, Beis Yisrael Yashvim al Admatim, the Jewish people on their land. Hakol Yeshiva Shalcha, all your dwelling and appointing elders, should be on your land. Rabbanan the Kisrin Amrin, they said, you can appoint elders in Chuzlaretz, al manas lachzor, with the intention to go back. Rabbi Yisrael Nachman, have a ba'azah, he was in Azah, umanane, they appointed him while he was there, manas lachzor, to go back to Yisrael. Rav Zmina have a Batzar, he was in Tsar. But Ma'anone, again, they appointed him in order to go back. Rav Yaina have a Babiska, he was also in, together with Rav Zmina, he was written down to be appointed. But he did not agree to take the smicha. Always said, Adzman de mismane Rebbe, until the time that first my teacher has it, and he will give me smicha. I will not take smicha through anyone else. Or Mina Rebbe, and then Rebbe was got smicha first, and then they appointed Rebbe Yaina. Oh, Rav Chama Yehuda ben Titus, have a Barami, he was in Rome, Manune, they appointed him, and Manasseh also in order that he should come back to Eretz Yisrael. Shim Ba'ava, however, he was in Damascus and in Damascus. Bismana and Dakikin Minei, and younger people in Torah were appointed. But who lies money? He wasn't appointed. Shim Bava, have a barkeeper Magaliyasa. He was very clever in all sorts of things. And despite this, he didn't even have a loaf of bread to eat. But Rabbi Yochanan called on him. He said, Lola Kalim Ameroitz, Lola Gibarim Lachama. Become Lola Chachamim Lechem. Like the Chachamim do not have bread. And Amar Allah, he said, Kami She'enim Makim Masav Shal Abraham. If you don't know the deeds of Avraham Avinu, Yakim Masav Masav Shal Zeh. You should know the deeds of this one, of this Shimon Bava. He's saying even though he had a Zechus Avos, it didn't help him that there should be good food for him because of his muzzle. Shimon Bava, Ava Damascus, and he was in Damascus. So Shalach le Rava had a Igra. Rava sent him a letter, and he gave from his old hairs, he put inside the letter. And he said like this, Begin Ilain Savasa Kumisarach Larad Israel. Because of these hairs, these old hairs, come to Eretz Yisrael. I need you to help me with the yeshiva. I'm getting old. And then he carried on, who will uncover the dirt from your eyes? Rav Yochanan, and you'll see something which happened with your Talmud. Abo Riglusaya, Abo, who was young, Ismane is now appointed as a Chacham, and Shema the Ma'afraya. And Shim Bavo, who was the honored one of the Talmidim, Lo Ismane, he was not appointed. Halacha Dalet, yeah? Okay. Now we're talking about the Seder of taking the Bikkurim after they come to Yerushalmi. So the flute is playing. Higiu Harabais. Afilu, once they reach Harabais, Afilu Agrippas HaMelech, even Agrippas the king, Naitel Sal Al Kasefa, he takes the basket on his shoulders, he goes in with him, Achu Magia La Azara, until he reaches the Azara. Right, they can always put the basket with their hands or with their friends, but when they come near Harabais, they need to carry it themselves. Okay? But Dibru Halavim Bashir. And when they reach the Azara, the Levim start singing the Mizmar, which is Tehillim number 30. Now, together with the baskets, they would bring birds to decorate the Bikkurim. And what was done with these birds? They were oil offerings. That which was in their hands, to what was in the baskets together with the Bikkurim themselves, you give it to the Kohanim. While there's still a sal al kasef, while the basket is on their shoulder, the one who is bringing the Bikkurim, he reads, which is in Kisabai, until he finishes the Pasha. Rabbi Yehuda, he said, Ad Arami Avidavi. He just reads till Arami Avidavi. Shagiel Arami Avidavi, when he reaches that. Moed Asal min Kasefa, he lowers the basket from his shoulders. He holds it. Now, I don't know, what does it say there? He holds it in his lips. Sifsaisa are usually lips, right? Iva, what does it say there? He holds it in his lips. Sifsaisa is my lips. I didn't fully... When he reaches a Rabbi Ovi, maybe it means he holds his lips, so he stops speaking, maybe? What do they say there? Sounds like he holds it in his lips. How do they explain it?
It must be like how to sit with you.
The Kohen puts his hand under it, and he waves it together. And he reads until he finishes the whole Parsha. So he says here, he puts the basket in front of the Mizbeach. Sounds like he holds it with his lip. I don't know. He holds the basket with his lip. I don't know. What do they say there? Do you want to bring to me? Sorry,
just after the
Rami Amidavi,
Yeah, he would lower the basket from his shoulder and hold it by its rim.
By its rim, right? It's not his lips, right? Yeah, it's by the rim. It's the rim of the keli, right? I thought it's his lips. I don't know. He holds it, huh?
The lip of the bucket.
Yeah, it's the lip of the bucket. Fair enough. And then he puts his hand underneath and waves it, and he reads Arami Amidavi until he finishes the whole pasha. You put the basket beside of his back, he bows down, and he goes out. Karishaina, in the beginning, anyone who could read, could read. That you can't read. We read the psukim in front of him and he answers back. Nimno, then they stopped that. Because those who couldn't read Malahavi, people were too worried. They won't bring their Bikkurim because they were embarrassed. Iskinu, they instituted Makrin that everyone should make to read. Someone says it loud, everyone repeats it. Esmi Shiodeh, Esmi Shiodeh, whether you know how to read or not. It's like the laning, isn't it? The Bnei Ashkenaz, they stopped everyone laning their own aliyah because people who can't read, not to embarrass them. Whereas in Sephardic circles, the minhag still carries on. And if someone wants to read the aliyah, they can read the aliyah, and that's that. Esmi Shiodeh, so that whether the person can read or not. If the Bikkurim needs to be in a basket, it says you bring it batena, right? Ashirim Avinas Bikkurim Bekolossus, they bring it in baskets of kesef bazal of gold and silver to make the mitzvah beautiful. Anim and the poor Avinas B'Salim Netzarim in wickerwork, willow branches. Salim Bikkurim Nitonin the Kohanim, and the baskets. When you're bringing your rubbish quality baskets, then at least you give the Kohanim the baskets. Now the Levium would start with the share as the people are coming in. Another nusach of Huna Makinim Asi. So this way to learn our Mishnah. They reach the Azara. The Kohen takes the basket from your hand, and then the Levium have the share. As you come in the Azara, first you take the basket to the Kohen, and after that, the Levium will begin with the share. Now that which they had was given to the Kohen. In that wording, we don't have that Gersa because the giving of the basket was beforehand. Is to know Tanim Machalev. Some say slightly differently. They learn you give the Bikkurim to the Kohen in the Mishnah based on Agis, and the birds were oilers and what they had in their hands they gave to the Kohanim, and not in the beginning. He said the beginning giving to the Bikkurim to the Kohen was at the end after the Parsha. And the reason why to delay the giving it till the end, to put together the giving of the Bikkurim to the Kohen to the giving of the birds to the Mizbeach. Now they bring the birds on the baskets. They wouldn't put the birds on top of the baskets exactly because you don't want any waste to come out of the birds to go onto the fruit, right? You put it out to the side of the basket. You read while the basket is on your shoulder until you finish that parsha. One of the elders taught in front of Zira. A Brisa says, you go back to Igad Hayom. So basically, after you've brought the basket from your shoulders, at the end of reading the Bikkurim, you read again Igad Hayom till the end, because you've not yet taken the basket down from your shoulder, or at least one second. After you bring it down, it says the Kohen takes it from your hand, and you say Vanisa Vamata. So there's a refrain to say back. He's already said the parsha once. Why he has to start saying bits again? We explained the Lashon Igati Hayom Kva Igati. It means I've already said it. Although the Kavanah means Igati is I'm about to tell you, but since the Torah mentions Lashon in the past instead of saying Magidoni, we learn no Chayzer B'Ami. You're going to say it a second time after taking it from the Kohen, after giving it to the Kohen rather, and that's Igati. It's I've already done it. Yeah, it's going on what you've said already. You put the Bikkurim next to the Mizbeach, and that allows it to be eaten. What about putting it down if it was done too early? Now, if you brought the Bikkurim and you put it next to the Mizbeach before the fitting time, before Shavuos, does that allow it? It doesn't get allowed by putting it down. That's when we said, he went and took it back again before Shavuos, and it wasn't there when Shavuos came. But if it was there as Shavuos comes in, then as if you put it in the right time, and that's okay. At least that's our question, at least. But we don't actually have the answer. So the question is, if you put it down and it stayed there all the time till Shavuos came in, is that good enough? Rav Yonah asked, Hinicham balayla, if you put them down before the Mizbeach at night, is putting Bikurim considered the beginning of Avodah, which has to be done in the day? Very good question. We have no answer. Tanya, we've learned in a brayso, Manicham Bikurim Drobis Maravis, you put it in the southwest corner of the Mizbeach. Now it says for the Mencha, you bring it before Hashem, Mizbeach. It says Lifnei Hashem, in front of Hashem. Does that mean you bring it to the west side of the Mizbeach? That's considered Lifnei Hashem? Yeah. Talmud Lomon says no, El Panei Mizbeach. And the face is like the south side, because that's where the ramp goes up. The Lifnei Mizbeach, so it should be on the south side, Talmud Lomon Lifnei Hashem. Okay, so how do you understand this? Bring it on the southwest corner. With that way, you fulfill two things. You are Lifnei Hashem and you are El Panei Mizbeach. And he puts it on the south side of Lifnei Hashem, and you leave it with Droma Shokeren on the south side of the horn, okay, of the corner. His Kiddush Makrin, the institute that you should read out for people to follow you, whether the guy could read or not. Answering is when one person says it. Someone reads and you read after him. Not only that, Shesam is based on the pasuk V'anisa V'amata. So V'anisa sounds like you answer after someone calls out to you. And the rich people would bring their bikurim in baskets of silver, because of shel kesef. What about silver pots? Can you bring it? When the Torah says put it in a basket, must it be a basket? Maybe the Torah doesn't care. And again, there is no answer. Now, what about the word tenor? What about, now in the time of the Talmud, there's a Metargumon who would translate the Torah to Arami for the people who were listening. And there were two cases where the Amoraim had to stop the translator because he hadn't done the right job. Rabbi Yoda and Rabbi Yirmiyah, Chad Mechazer Mona, one returned the translator, he explained Keli, he said a vessel for the word tenor. Instead of saying a basket, he said a vessel. So he said, stop, that's wrong. And someone stopped the translator, but instead of saying matzahs with yerokas, vegetables, he said vegetables for matzahs and rome, for bitter vegetables. You should translate it matzah with bitter stuff, and he said the wrong stuff. We don't know who stopped which translator. Now, Rabbi Yonah was the one, from his question, he asked, can you use a tamchon? Is tenor, must it be a basket? So you see, he must be the one who didn't like the word basket to be translated as a vessel. The Amar Salah, you should say basket. Right? Rabbeinu Marza, he brought back the translation of Patimin B'nei Torin. So instead of cattle, who were fattened cattle, Parim B'nei Baka, the Amma, he said, you should say Torin B'nei Torin. You should say oxen and young oxen. Torin B'nei Torin. He says here, Par Ben Baka. Torin, there's different gisos here. Is he talking about the decorating of the Bikurim? B'nei Torin, the basket with birds. Maybe it's talking about birds here. B'nei Torin, the doves and the other birds. Yeah, that's what it could be. But we're not necessarily talking about oxen here. Of course, Tyre in Aramaic is an ox, right? But it could be the birds here. Rav Shimon Anas, he said, "Ma'atrin is a bikurim chutz m'shivas haminim." We decorate the bikurim, even fruit not shivas haminim, you would use to decorate the bikurim. Rabbi Kiva, he says, no, no, the decorations have to also be shivas haminim. Rav Shimon said, "Shalosh midas b'bikurim." There are three levels. Bikurim, there's the main bikurim. You give it a name bikurim while it's on the tree. Tosefes bikurim, fruit that you add onto the bikurim later. The itur habikurim, and the itur, which is the decorating. Tosefes bikurim is min b'mina, is the same type, only from the same min that you're bringing for bikurim, and you can have additional bikurim. So if you bring figs, you can add more figs, right? Itur habikurim, the decorating, can be even min b'shenim, it's another type. But there are differences. Tosefes Bikkurim Ne'acheles B'Tahara. That must be eaten in Tahara for Kohanim or Tahar. But Torah Ben Adamai, there's no din of Demai. But Ita Bikkurim, the decorating Bikkurim Chayiv is Mai. Amoritz brings Bikkurim Chayiv, the Kohen has to take Maisa on it. Now Shimon ben Anas from Rekiva argue in our Mishnah, can you decorate the Bikkurim with fruit which is not Shivas Aminin? Now do we worry, people will see you're using these other types, you'll bring Bikkurim from these other types. Yeah? Do we worry about that? And it's this Hashash is also with the decorating which comes from stuff from abroad, where there's no din Bikurim on stuff from abroad. So will there be a machlekes with Shimon ben Anas Rabbi Akiva also with fruits of chutz la'aretz? Oh, Rabbi Yossi, Kol Haloshon, everyone agrees, even Rabbi Akiva, shema'achin is Bikurim, you can decorate the Bikurim with fruit mei chutz la'aretz if it's shivas haminin from abroad. We don't think people will worry to bring Bikurim from chutz la'aretz. Like Rabbi Akiva is worried about fruit which is not shivas haminin. Because she'ein b'nei adam tayin laima, people are not going to make a mistake to say shemavir Bikurim mechutz la'aretz. You can bring Bikurim from abroad. Everyone knows you don't bring Bikurim from abroad. Ma'afligin, where are they arguing? It is ba'aman moyav. Fruit aman moyav. The one who says that you can decorate the Bikurim with fruit of chutz meshivas haminin, fruit which is not 7 species, that's from Shimon ben Anas, he will say also, you can use fruit of aman moyav. You don't have to worry, people start learning from the decorating for the Bikurim themselves. Whereas Mando ba'ein matrin, the one who said she'ein matrin, you don't bring out to the Bikurim, and then meshivas haminin, which is a Rekiva, you have to use shivas haminin, he will say as well, Ein Ma'achinis Bikurim Amanav, do not decorate with fruit from Amanav Mayav, even they are Shivas Aminin, because not everyone knows you cannot bring Bikurim from Amanav Mayav, and we're worried if we allow you to decorate with that, they will bring Bikurim from that. Amra said, everyone agrees, Shein Ma'achinis Bikurim Amanav, everyone knows you can't bring decorations of Amanav Mayav. People think you bring Bikurim Amanav Mayav. So Ma'apalegin, so what are they arguing on? Ma'apalegin, Bechuz la'aretz, fruit from abroad. The one who said you can use fruit which are like Shimon ben Anas, even not Shivas Minin, he will also hold. You use fruit from abroad. You don't have to worry people are going to make a mistake to bring Bikurim from abroad. Manda Amar, the one who said that Bikurim Ella B'Shivas Haminin, the one who said you only bring it from Shivas Haminin, or Rekiva, he will say, he will also say you cannot bring it from abroad. People will make a mistake to start bringing Bikurim from abroad. Tanya, we've learnt in a brisa. Yeah, we need to Bikurim. Bikurim, mitzvah, lavir b'shiva kelim. You bring it from Shivas Haminin, bring it as each one in its own keli. If you all bring it in one vessel, it's fine. So how do you do it if you bring it in one keli? Nice and barley at the bottom, davar achem, maybe some other vegetable leaf, al gaben on top of it, and then wheat, chitin al gaben, davar achem al gaben. Again, something as a gap in between. Zeisim olive al gaben, then olives, davar achem al gaben, chatamarim, dates on top, another gap. Davar achem al gaben, reminding pomegranates, davar achem al gaben, ta'inim shal gaben, then figs, another gap. Lemala ben anavim and grapes, or makif alein eshko shal anavim v'chutz, and you have a cluster of grapes on the outside as a nice decoration. They wouldn't go to Yerushalmi Yichidim, they would go in groups. Now they only journeyed 2/3 of the day by Yom. They went 2/3 of the day travel. Chazare Beis HaKnesses, the Shamashim in the shuls, will go with them to Yerushalayim. They slept in the place, in the public area. They would not go in the houses because of Tumah. But to unin Ayla Shlamim, the Bikurim needs Ayla Shlamim to bring with them. We don't make a whole procession to send them out like we do when they come in. We don't send a whole retinue to go with them going out. So Bikurim B'Turim in Adamai. Tiny we learned B'Turim in Avadai and Min Adamai. So Tesefes is patur from Vadai and Demai, right? You don't have to take. Mishnah says it's patur from Demai, but it doesn't mean you have to. It's proper tevel, master tevel, Vadai. No, but basically it's patur from Meiser as well, whether from Demai or proper tevel, like Bikurim themselves. Okay. When did it say Tesefes like Bikurim? Bisman she bomb in Haaretz, from fruit of Eretz Yisrael. If made a bomb in Haaretz, if it doesn't come from the land, Eina Bikurim is not Bikurim. Why do they say Bikurim belongs to the Kohen? True Kohen mehen avodim, he can use it to buy servants, or karkois and land, or maybe to man on kosher animals, and you can pay back a debt with it. Okay? The wife who's got divorced can get her ksuva from it. Sefer Torah also is permitted, you can buy. Rabbi Yehuda said, you should only give it to a kohen who's baki tumah tahara, right? But tova, and you give it for nothing as a gift to any kohen, even though he's not of the mishmah of that week. The Chachamim said, mishmah, you give to the mishmah of that week, and they divide it amongst them between the chaver and Aretz, Kadshei Hamikdash, like Kadshim of the base of Mikdash. Right? They argue they are Bikurim belongs to the Kohen of that Mishmah, and whether they are Chaverim or Amei Haaretz. Okay, Rabbi Yosi B'Shei Rabbi Chia Baba Shalo is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. They asked Rabbi Gamliel, "Ma Shimka Adam Sefer Torah Lisa Isha? Can you sell a Sefer Torah to get married?" And he says, "Yes, you can." Limay Torah. What about selling a Sefer Torah to learn? You can. What about for your livelihood? You haven't got what to eat. He didn't answer them. Rav Yoina b'Shem Rechia Baba Shadis Rav Shimon Gamliel. They asked him, "Shim Kadam Sefer Torah L'Saisha? Can you sell a Sefer Torah to get married?" He says, "Yeah, you can." Limay Torah. Yeah. But as far as his livelihood, they didn't ask the question, so he didn't answer them. Now, Dati Rav Yoina Nicha. So according to Rav Yoina, I understand. The Lo Shalom, they didn't ask about selling for livelihood, but La Given, so he didn't answer them. I doubted Rabbi Yosi, couldn't have Rabbi Yosi, in Shalom, La Given. If they asked him, why didn't he answer? Ki asked Rabbi Chanania, Chanani came, Rabbi Pilchas, Rabbi Yochanan, Shimon Gamliel, Ma'echo Adam Sefer Torah Lisa Ishu Limot Torah. You can sell a Sefer Torah to get married and to learn, the Kosher came and definitely for your livelihood. So that's why he didn't answer them, because he didn't feel a need to answer them. You already answered them, you can do the others, therefore you can definitely do this. The father makes a vow that he shouldn't benefit from his son so the son should be learning Torah, not to serve him. The son is allowed to fill up a barrel of water, and to light a candle. That sort of benefit is not considered a proper benefit. Rabbi Yaakov Aridim Rabbi Yonatan, he can buy you things, the son can buy stuff for you in the market. Or Peligin, there's Rabbi Yonatan, who's an Amira. Is he arguing on the Brisa? The Brisa didn't allow any to fill water to light a candle. So he says, Kam Be'isha. The Brisa is talking about a man who made a neder that he can therefore buy in the market himself. Rabbi Yonasan is talking about a woman who made a neder, she's not going to go to the market. Therefore we say she had no intention to forbid her son buying things for her. If the father was someone chashuv who never goes to the market, also Isakish, then we treat him like a woman, and the son is allowed to go to the market. Person made a vow for his son to do malacha, not to do malacha, he should be ready for learning. He allowed the son to fill up a jug of water for the father, and to light the candle. One who sells the Sefer Torah of his father that he got as Yerusha, will not see a blessing for that. So if you keep the Sefer Torah in your house, this is going on someone who inherited a Sefer Torah, and he doesn't need it, but he keeps it, and he ensures that it is being used. And especially if someone who has two Sefer Torah, who ensures that one is in one shul, and he ensures it, and one is in Morlain, and one is in Mikdash Melech, and he has two Sefer Torah that are being used, Baruch Hashem be, and I'm a Sefer Torah base, the Sidkus carries on. Now I just want to say, Baruch Hashem, we managed to finish Seder Zerayim. As you know, the new cycle of Seder Moed is not starting for a few weeks, roughly 26th, 25th of November. So therefore, Be'ezus Hashem, we will throw in Maseches Hurius, okay? And we'll aim to do that within the next 3 weeks before we start Maseches Moed. Adon Alav Siklam Maseches Bikkurim.